kid from rural Indiana. Well, I applied to the academy, never got a nomination. I was always an alternate or something like that. I was a pretty good basketball player. Got a telegram from the basketball coach at the Air Force Academy. He said, sorry you didn't make it in. Recommend you go enlist in the Air Force Reserve. Do that right away, and you'll hear more from us once you're down to Lackland Air Force Base. I went down and enlisted, went down to Indianapolis, Indiana. Rode my right hand. And so bang, I am in San Antonio, Texas, first time I'd been in an airplane. Well, what it turned out to be was that was one of the early attempts on the part of the academy to send people to a prep school deliberately to get into the academy. So came in here and started off my life as a cadet. I was going to be the world's best fighter pilot. I learned that when I was here, and there was never a question in my mind. But there was an important incident very early in the basic summer where I passed out, and it was really hot, July. When I passed out, there wasn't anybody in front of me, and I went just like that and landed right there. Lost a total of 11 teeth. 5 of them were right in front of me when I opened my eyes in a pool of blood. Finally one day, the AOC showed up, and he says, probably going to send you home. I said, sir, you're not going to do that. And I said, I can do anything anybody else can do. There's no reason for you to send me back. So they decided to let me stay. Keep in mind, my jaw still wired shut. Several of us had applied to go to Fort Benning for jump training, which was an option because there was no flying or jumping at the academy. And I had 2 knee surgeries as a cadet. One as a 3rd classman, another was a 2nd classman. So I could not pass the Army PFT to go to Benning, so I couldn't go. So about this time, classmate Joel Arnoff, who's the real father of parachuting at the Air Force Academy, approached me and said, hey, want to go do some skydiving? And so now we started finding out that there were these parachute meets. Now all this time, we represented ourselves as the Air Force Academy parachute team. But the Air Force Academy didn't know it had one. We did this kind of on the slide. Drove ourselves there, drove back, never were late, nobody got hurt, thank God, nobody ever got hurt. So we decided, well, we'll just keep our mouth shut because that's what we'd done all along. But what are we going to do with these trophies? Put them on our desk. Well, we're first classmen, so we could do that. The commandant found out about it, and immediately somebody come in the room, confiscated the 2 trophies, put us on restrictions, and I thought, oh my, here we are. But as we now know, it all turned out fine. Trophies came back. In fact, the commandant presented them on the staff tower, which is the only time in my life I'd ever been there at that point in time, in front of the cadet wing, and said he had talked to his alma mater, West Point, and they were going to send experts from their team, whom we had beat at this collegiate meet, down to start an official club, parachute club, with the idea and potential, if it worked, to later become a team. About a month before graduation, somebody was reviewing my records and said, you passed out in the 4th class year. Turned out there was no documentation as to why I broke my jaw. So I was declared, not only am I not going to pilot training, I ain't going to fly. And so about a month before graduation, they said, what else do you want to do? Well, through military training classes, it had been drilled into us that you want to be in operations. So I said, what else is an operational career field? And they said, missiles. We don't recommend it, but missiles. And so when they came to Titan II at Tucson, Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, I said, I'll do that. It was a great fortuitous decision. I can only account that to God Himself as to how that came about, because it wasn't anything else or anyone else, and it just got better from there. My first crew commander was a captain named John Haley. Another one of the best things that ever happened to me, because he was a disciplined guy, but he knew how to have fun, and I was so fortunate stick to the tech data, stick to your emergency war order training, act as a team, never surprise your boss, keep him informed, but don't stand around waiting on him to tell you what to do when you know what to do. We hit it off magnificently. Has to be, in terms of my start in the Air Force, it could not have been any better. I became the SAC project officer for the Minuteman III reentry system. So explaining that to the flying Air Force, which became my job, was a tremendous experience. Then my next assignment, not surprisingly, was the targeting business, the Joint Strategic Target Planning Staff. And I would be the missile guy in there in the missile tactics. And we began to develop some more capability. I ended up being the guy, by this time a major, to present that throughout the Air Force community, the joint community. Not many people get a chance to do something like that as a snot-nosed Captain Major. But I was afforded that. I got to do that. And spent a year in ops, and then a year, and I was a combat support group commander. So on the day of the change of command, right in the middle of that, the sergeant comes in the room and said, "Sir, we've just had an accident, helicopter's down." As the primary responsibility, one of them, of the combat support group commander, go to the field and become the on-scene commander of the accident. 2 months before that, I had been aware that they have a thing called the Base Commanders On-Scene Commanders course, and which I knew nothing about. So I said, I better go to that before I'm the commander. Because had I not gone to that on-scene commander's course, I would not have had a clue what the heck I was supposed to do. And that's why I call it a God moment. Nobody sent me there. It's just something said, I better go do that. And that base commander job has to be one of the growing moments of my life in terms of learning about the rest of the Air Force and what it takes to take care of people and our Air Force resources. I mean, it just goes on and on of things that you just, when you're in the ops world, you just don't think a lot about. General Welch sent me and said, we need to operationalize space. We maintain airplanes with well-trained high school graduates, better than anybody in the world, and then we send them off to United and American. We fly airplanes with well-trained college graduate history majors. Why in the hell can't we do that with space? And so that's where he sent me to Air Force Space Command as the DO, Director of Operations, to begin that process. And it's a process, I would tell you, is still underway. But thanks to guys like Jay Raymond, who was my escort officer at Vandenberg Air Force Base as a captain one time when I was out there as a 3-star. Jay Raymond knows what he needs to do, and he's marching off and doing it, and God bless him. But General McPeak wanted a new public affairs guy. He said, I need you to take over public affairs. I just fired the guy doing it. Can you do that? Well, I don't know a damn thing about public affairs. He said, well, you've run commands, crews, wings, been a base commander. You can run the damn thing, can't you? I said, yes, sir, I can do that. So I've become the Air Force, Secretary of the Air Force's Chief of Public Affairs, SAFPA. Air University was there 4 years. In that process, it was a major command at the time, and then part of the chores was to work with the community leaders to work an alignment of Air University with Air Training Command to create Air Education and Training Command. We moved Air Force Officer Training School from Lackland to Maxwell Air Force Base. And we moved ROTC into Air University. We moved Civil Air Patrol into Air University. So the command got A lot bigger. Retired out of their university. The relationship with Alvin Toffler and some of the colonels that worked with me, Alvin Toffler said, "You guys get it. Why don't we start a company together and help the government on one hand, but more importantly, help industry." We did that. Somewhere along the line, about 98, 99, while I was doing all that stuff in industry and United Way and Philharmonic, I was not elected as a trustee of the Falcon Foundation. And then in 2010, when Randy Cabrero, who had been a giant leader for the foundation, he term limited, they needed a new one, so they started a search committee, and they went through 2 rounds of the search committee at that time. Another trustee, without telling me, threw my name in the hat on round 2. I wasn't in round 1. And then called me and said, "By the way, I nominated you to be considered for president." Thank you, I think, and was fortunate, although I wasn't sure at the time, to be selected. But it very quickly was evident that this is what I was born to be, so to speak. I loved it. I loved every single minute of it. The people, the kids especially, helping these young people achieve their life's dream of entering the Air Force Academy. So the Falcon Foundation, and I'm pleased and proud and honored to be part of it, has done a lot in support of our academy and continues to do so under the leadership of General Steve Lyons today. But thankful, and most of all the family. I mean, I've been blessed with an extraordinarily supportive family, and so tops the list. God put people in charge of me throughout my life to make sure I didn't make any mistakes. I think it worked. I'm so honored and thankful that I had the opportunity to serve my country through the Academy, through our United States Air Force, in a somewhat different way for our Academy, ICBMs in space at the time. So a lot happened, and I'm very honored to have been part of it. Didn't ask for any of it. The Air Force just indicated what it wanted me to go do, and then use my good judgment, and the Air Force backed me up. And you can't ask for anything better than that. To, on many occasions, been at the right place at the right time, to have offered what I can, my ideas, my thoughts, my people skills, my whatever leadership ability I have, in support of our Air Force, in support of our nation. To have been asked to teach adult Sunday school, never did I dream I'd be doing that, never. So I look at my life as being honored to have been able to do these things. I'm proud, probably not the right word. Honored, I think, is the right word.